is about a lot more than the stay put policy. It plays to the idea, putting it as brutally as possible, that posh Tories sneer at ordinary people. You should not be criticised for listening to the official advice of the fire authority, given that government is ultimately responsible for the money that local government has to spend on fire services and for the fire regulations across the country. So do the Tories have a nasty party challenge as they make a pitch to win working class seats in the north of England? Andrew Bridgen is the Conservative MP for North West Leicestershire, a friend of Jacob Rees-Mogg. I spoke to him just before we came on air.
Jacob is a good friend of mine, and he's an extremely intelligent and compassionate human being, and his comments regarding Grenfell were uncharacteristically clumsy, but I think we have to put him into the context of Jacob. I mean, Jacob is a leader, he's an authority figure, and what he's failed to realise is that in a life-threatening and stressful situation, most of the public will probably defer to the advice of an authority figure, be that someone from the fire authority or the police, and not come to their own conclusions. And as we know, with regard to Grenfell, that advice was flawed.
Do you think he meant to say that he thought he would not have stayed put?
That's what he meant to say. That's what he meant to say.
But
and that's
that,
what
in a way, that is exactly what people object to, which is he's in effect saying, I wouldn't have died because I would have been cleverer than the people who took the fire brigade's advice.
But we want very clever people running the country, don't we, Evan? That's a byproduct of what Jacob is, and that's why he's in a position of authority. What he's actually saying is he would have made a better decision than the authority figures who gave that advice. But I can assure you there is absolutely no malice and no... I mean, he's one of the most compassionate and thoughtful politicians we've got.
He lives in a different world, doesn't he, to the people who lived in the Grenfell Tower? A world which he finds very difficult even to place himself in or to empathise with.
Indeed, and so do I and so do you. But we have a duty to look after all in our society as elected politicians and indeed people who are opinion formers on the media. Jacob is not from that background. He's very, very well educated. He's privileged, but that is, he's in a position where he is an opinion former. He is a figure of authority because of those characteristics, and we need those people there.
I just wonder whether, in a way, this gets at a core, I won't call it a contradiction, but a core paradox of the Conservative campaign in this election. What your party needs to do is to win a bunch of working class seats, particularly in the north of England. We hear a lot about Workington Man and all of that. These are the seats where perhaps this election will be decided. And your party is led by, an Etonian at his right hand, another Etonian making comments about, perhaps tactless about what he thinks other people, lesser people would get wrong. And I just wonder whether that is a really difficult place for your campaign, a really difficult trick for your campaign to pull off as a party.
Well, I think people will want the very best people, our brightest and best, making decisions that are going to affect not just themselves. People at the top of government make decisions that affect millions of people, and they need to make good decisions. Nothing that Jacob said detracts from his ability to make the right decision to affect millions of people.
And then, so the last one is just whether or not people actually want someone who understands them and their predicament and sees the world the way they see it, rather than someone who is some kind of godlike, patrician paternalist who can tell them. Well, they're not
mutually exclusive. My seat was the most deprived seat in Leicestershire when I took it from Labour in 2010. I myself was brought up until the age of 12 in a house that didn't have mains electricity, and I'm a self-made man, and my majority is 13,300 at the last election, and my major conurbation is Colville, which is a former mining town, and one of my grandfathers was a coal miner and the other one was a furnace stoker at the pipeworks.
And your point is you have no problem being in the same party as a Jacob Rees-Mogg or any other Etonian or whatever. And I understand that point.
Absolutely. Because